What's going on, everybody? My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about the most important thing with our laces: installation. As we all know, once you put them in correctly, you're going to be able to experience what makes LaceLinks so great: the ability to slip in and out your shoes, while also taking advantage of the adaptive comfort that all of our laces provide. As we go along throughout this video, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to our support team at support@lacelinks.com. That way I can refer you over to our support team and we can get you an answer right away. Without further ado, we're gonna get straight into the installation process, so let's get to it. We are gonna be using a brand new pair of Nike Court Vision low tops. For these, we are gonna use our regular length shoelaces. So for these Court Visions, I got a pair of our flat white elastic shoelaces. I would say these are pretty similar to all low tops, as well as some mid tops too. But for now, these are gonna be our low top installation with our flat elastic shoelaces. First off, obviously you wanna remove your old laces on your shoes. All right, now that I got our normal laces out of the shoes, I will go ahead and get into our pair of flat elastic shoelaces. We got our flat elastic shoelaces as well as a pair of our links. Looks real nice. These do separate, just so you guys know. So putting these in, these are gonna be pretty straightforward. You're just gonna lace them up just like really any other shoe. If you have a certain way you like to lace them, these will work. Bar lacing, any fancy way of lacing, these all will stretch the same and allow your shoe to slip off. I'm just gonna lace these just like a traditional lace. One thing I do wanna let you guys know, do not pull really hard on the ends of these laces, as these will pull off due to the elasticity of the lace. When it does pull, it does get smaller. Therefore, these will tend to pull off if you pull really hard on the ends of these. So what I normally do is once I get it fed through the hole, I'll feed it through, and then I'll go on the other side, grab it, and then from there, I will go ahead and grab the lace itself, ensuring that the tip will not pull off on me. You always just wanna make sure that your laces are even when putting them on. That way it saves you from readjusting them later when you cut them. Once they are even, you can go ahead and start lacing them. From here, I'll go ahead and put them on and make sure that the tension's all good, make sure there's no tight spots throughout, and just to make sure that they fit the way they're supposed to. I'm gonna feel how they feel on my foot here. Okay, right off the bat, I'm liking the tension on here already, actually. Feels pretty good throughout my foot. From this point on, you're gonna make the decision once you're happy with the tension, if you're gonna tie them normally or use our link. If you're gonna tie them, it's gonna be pretty straightforward. All you're gonna do is just tie them just like a normal lace, and you're done. They're ready to go. There's no installation after that. Once you lace them up, get your tension set, you're good to go. So now if your choice is to utilize our link, you are gonna need two tools. The scissor, obviously, to cut the ends off once you get your length at the correct stage, and a lighter is not needed, but I do recommend it to singe the ends so that the ends don't fray on you. First, what you need to do is make sure that the tension is the way you want it to be. I do this by moving my foot around. Maybe if you want to slip it on and off a couple times just to make sure that you can. Make sure everything feels good. The best thing about our flat laces is they won't slide through the holes. They'll kind of hold tension. As you'll see, they're not sliding. They're not pulling unless you really pull on them. Especially if you have Jordans, you can leave them on the side and they'll still hold the tension on your foot. Just make sure that it feels good. Make sure that there's no tight spots. Make sure that everything feels good on your foot, that you can slip off your shoe a couple times, walk around in it. Just make sure that you're comfortable. You can tie these like a normal lace just to get a feel if you want, and then just kind of slip them on and off a few times, make sure it's all good. Because from this point on, once you cut your lace, there's no going back. I always recommend with our flat laces is working your way tighter. So that means I would always just give myself an extra little bit of slack when I cut them. So that way, if I want it a little tighter, I can always just reopen up our link and cut the laces in a bit. So you're just gonna kind of get an idea where your link's gonna sit on your shoe, and then you're gonna kind of make a mental note where you're gonna cut. With all this slack right here, I'm gonna cut it right about here on my lace. And then the same on the other side. So once I got the ends cut, I'm gonna take my lighter and I'm gonna singe the ends just so they don't fray on me when I put them in. What you're gonna do is you're gonna separate it and you're gonna undo the lever. You're just gonna open up and it'll give you a little slot to put the lace in. What you're gonna do is you're gonna feed in the lace to the end of the link. The trick to doing this is to hold it as close to the tip as you can. So that way it kind of keeps it stiff enough to kind of work itself in there. You're gonna take your tip of your lace here and you're just gonna slide it into the end, working it both back and forth to the point where it finally meets inside. You're gonna see it reach to the end, and then from there you're gonna clamp it down. give a little tug. That way it engages into the lock. You're just gonna repeat that on the other side. You can just connect it from that point, adjust the center, and you're ready to go. From this point, you've officially installed our flat link onto your flat elastic shoelaces. You never have to touch your laces again. You can now just slip on your shoes and go about your day. For our high tops, I got a pair of Port Royal Nikes. These are gonna be utilizing our XL laces. Because they are a higher shoe, we do have on our website our length guide that we use to determine whether you should be using our XL or our regular length laces. We're gonna go ahead and grab a pair of our XL laces. You'll notice the packages are a little bit thicker, indicating that these are indeed our 200 centimeter XL laces. So first step, obviously, we're just gonna unlace our shoes and get rid of these old traditional laces. Now that we got our shoes unlaced, we're gonna go grab our XL laces. Each pair comes with our XL length flat elastic shoelaces, as well as a pair of our links. As you can see, have our nice logo on them as well. They do come apart. There's no difference in links across our flat laces. Only difference being is the length of the lace. Taking a pair of these out, you'll see that these are almost double the exact length of our other laces. Keep in mind that when using our XL laces, you might have extra length on your shoe. That is totally normal. If you are using our links, it's really not a big deal. It just gives you a little bit of a safeguard so you don't get short laces with your higher shoes. I'm gonna go ahead and start lacing my shoe traditionally. Before we lace, it is crucial not to pull on the end of this tip here, because if you pull too hard on the tip of this, when elastic stretches, it shrinks. That means this tip will 9 times out of 10 pop off if you pull really hard on it. So what I usually do is once I lace it through, I get it through and then I grab the lace itself and then pull on the lace. This ensures that you do not pull off the tip of your lace, and it makes it easy to lace up your shoes. From this point, I'm gonna go put them on and then see how they feel. I'm just gonna slip them on here and get a feel for them. It's a little tight right here, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work my slack down towards the front of my toe. So I'm gonna pull, 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 and bring it all the way to the tip of my foot. That way it kind of eases up some of that tension right there, right? Now that I got it laced all the way up on my shoe, from this point on, you're gonna make the decision whether you're gonna tie these like regular or use our links. Depending on how high your shoe, you'll either have more or less slack on your laces. I do always recommend, obviously, for our XL laces, always to cut them, just because that they're always usually on the longer side. You're gonna get a good feeling once the tension's all good in your foot. You know, kind of move it around, maybe get up and walk, slip it off a couple times, make sure that the tension's all good in your foot. Because once you cut them, you can't give material back. And then from this point, I can move forward onto installing the link. So you're gonna need a pair of scissors and a lighter to singe the ends of them. So you're gonna go grab our link and you're just gonna kind of position it on your shoe, kind of get an idea where it's gonna sit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut back my lace. From here, I'm gonna singe the ends of them. This keeps the end nice and clean. So once you got your end singed, you're gonna take our link, you're gonna separate it, and you're gonna open up the flap. Once the flap is open, you wanna shove the end of your lace into the end. Take your lace and hold it as close to the end as possible. I'm gonna feed it into the end. Once it got to the end, you're gonna clamp it down and you can fasten our link together. So with that being said, that's gonna conclude our high top installation of our XL laces. For our round laces, I got a pair of these Charged Assert Under Armour running shoes that I'll be using to install our round laces. I got a pair of our round black elastic shoelaces that I'll be putting these into. So getting started, obviously you would just want to take out your normal laces that are in your shoe by unlacing them. All right, I have unlaced these running shoes. Each pair will come with our round elastic shoelaces as well as our round links. These do screw apart. So moving forward, I'm gonna start lacing my shoes the traditional way. You just wanna make sure that your laces are even. That way moving forward, as you lace all the way up, it doesn't keep one lace shorter than the other. So now that I got them equal, I'm gonna continue lacing up my shoe. All right, now that I got our shoes laced all the way up, I will go ahead and try them on and make sure the tension's all good and then adjust it throughout. Right away, I can tell they're just a little bit too loose. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull some tension into it, work my way from the front, working my way towards the back. All right, now that I got the tension back in my foot, it feels pretty even all the way up my foot. From this point, you're gonna make the decision whether you're gonna use our round links or tie them like normal. If you wanna tie them like normal, it's pretty straightforward. you're just gonna tie them like you would any other shoe and then slip them off. It's pretty straightforward. They just stay tied forever and you never gotta touch them ever again. And then from there, you can slip back on your shoe. If you plan on using our link, first step you're gonna do is you're gonna take our round link and you're gonna unscrew it. From that point, you're gonna take one end, slide it onto the end, slide it to the bottom of your lace, and repeat the same step on the other side. Okay, once you have the round link slid onto the laces, from this point, you're gonna make sure your tension's all good and you're gonna go tie your shoe. Once you've tied your shoe, this is where you wanna make sure that it is the way you want it to be. Is I'll just go around, move my foot around, maybe go walk around, run, whatever you're gonna be doing with your shoe. And obviously you wanna slip it off and slip it back on a couple times just to make sure that the tension's all good. Because from this point on, you're gonna be cutting this knot out. And there's no way for you to give back material once it has been cut. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my shoe off, just cut out the knot and remove the bow. So I'll take my scissors and have my lighter handy. So I'm gonna go as close as I can to the knot and I'm gonna cut the lace. This is gonna leave you with two ends of your lace. Now it's important not to pull these through because it is kind of a pain to put them back in and thread them in. So what I do is I always just pull a little bit of tension to give me some extra lace. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna singe the ends of them. Get a nice good singe on them, this way that they don't fray on you and keeps the lace all together. From this point, what you're gonna do is you're gonna tie a knot as close to the end as possible and make sure that you can get it as close to the end as possible. I'm gonna pull. You're gonna repeat that on the other side. So you can see I got my two knots tied as close to the end as possible. Pull up the link and suck in the knot. Repeat on the other side. Now screw our link together. When screwing our link together, you'll notice sometimes that our lace does get twisted on our shoes. One quick way of doing that is holding the end and twisting the link backwards. It's more for visual purposes at that point. Pull back some of the slack you initially got, and now you can just slip on your shoes. That's gonna conclude our round elastic shoelace installation of our laces. For our boot laces, we're gonna be using a brand new pair of these brown work boots. These are gonna be like all your traditional lace-up boots. You got your little eyelet hooks here, which are gonna be really nice utilizing our boot laces, as I will show you how they go in a second. For these boots, I'm gonna be utilizing our black boot laces. First thing you wanna do, obviously, you wanna unlace your boots all the way to make room for our boot laces. Once you have your boots all the way unlaced, we're gonna break into our package of boot laces here and see what we got. So each pair does come with our elastic boot laces. These are gonna be really long. These are gonna come into around 250 centimeters, which should be plenty long for every boot that you guys have. As well as they come with our locks. We do got our end clips here that go on the end, as well as our adjustable tensioners that keeps the tension on your boots. First things first though, we're gonna lace up our boots with our elastic boot laces, and then we're gonna get into these later. You'll notice the elastic tension's a little bit more resistant on these, and that's just due to the fact that we have a lot more elastic cord inside these. We need that extra tension to keep your foot secure. I'm just gonna lace them up right to the bottom hook. If you guys have regular eyelets here, you could just go ahead and lace them all the way up. It really doesn't matter. Always make sure that it is even when you first start on your first eyelet hole, so that way once you get to the top, you don't deal with uneven laces. So once you have laced up your boots, from this point on, you're gonna lace them and then you're gonna use our tensioner. Like I said previously, if you just have normal eyelet holes all the way up, you can just lace them all the way to the top. So you're just gonna lace them up, and here's the reason why. So you're gonna hold a little bit of tension on them, right? So they stay in the hooks, and you're gonna go grab our tensioner to put tension on the laces so they don't come out of the hooks. That's the big key thing here. So I'm gonna feed these through, and boom. Now there's tension on them, they'll stay in the hooks. That is what makes our laces so great, is the fact that they can keep tension, which keeps them inside the hooks. Very beneficial for boots with hooks. Boots without, of course, it's the same thing. You just lace them up the way you are. So from this point, I'm gonna put them on and we're gonna proceed to install this end clip at that point. This is where I'm gonna start adjusting the tension of the boot. I'm gonna tighten them down to a point where I'm happy with them. Make sure that you're happy with the tightness, you know, that it's not too loose, also that it's not too tight. Once you're happy with the tightness, you'll notice I can't really slip these off, right? So this is where the adjustment comes into play. You wanna adjust this looser until it gets to the point where you can slip them off. They're a little bit tight right now, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna release some tension, bring some slack into it. Still just a little bit too tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull a little bit more tension out of it. And now I can slip off my boot. This is gonna be the point where you're gonna cut your lace, because this is gonna be the loosest it will ever be. So from this point on, this is where you're gonna tighten it. So you're gonna take your end clip here, and you're basically just gonna put it in here, and you're just gonna cut the excess off. So I'm just gonna probably cut to where there's just a little bit of 1/2 inch left. I'm gonna cut the excess lace off, and then I'm gonna take my lighter and I'm just gonna singe the ends. And now I'll put my clip on. You'll see I got it cut off just enough so I can put my clip on. I'm gonna feed the laces into the clip until it meets the little stopper on the one side. One side has a little stopper. This is the side you want your laces to sit in, and you wanna bring it all the way to the end. As you can see, they're to the end. And you're gonna give it a good squeeze, and there you've installed our end clip onto your boot. From this point, you can loosen it to the end to where it stops. This will be the loosest it will ever be. If you're not too comfortable with adjusting it this close right away, what you can do is you can leave a little bit more slack. And as you go, you can open this up by prying on the inside with a little screwdriver, and it will pop it right open. One side will be open, one side will be closed. This side's the closed side, this side's the open side. So what you wanna do is you wanna go in there and pry it open, and it will pry open the clip for you. From there, you can cut back the excess material and you can make it shorter. I can now slip on my boot, and I can adjust the tightness. Keep in mind when tightening this, pulling really hard on the end of this will pull the end clip off, and you will have to reinstall it. This is a good starting point to get you some extra material, and then grab the lace, not the end, grab the lace. Grab the lace, pull, you're gonna tighten it down. From there, you can just loosen it to the end and slip off your boot. That's one of the beautiful things about our elastic bootlaces, is that they stay ready for the next morning. So that's gonna conclude our elastic bootlace installation. For our combat boot installation, we're gonna be utilizing a pair of Free Soldier combat boots in Coyote Brown, the Dark Desert Tan. And for those, we're gonna be using our elastic combat boot laces. These are gonna be specific for combat boots for uniform compliance. These are gonna be our Coyote Brown color, which are gonna go well with our Coyote Brown boots. First thing you're gonna do is obviously you're gonna unlace your boots. Each pair comes with our Coyote Brown elastic bootlaces, 2 adjustable tensioners, as well as our end clips. You'll notice that on our elastic combat bootlaces are a little bit different when compared to our regular bootlace clips. The only difference being is they're a little bit slimmer. As you can see, the profile, the side profile is just a little bit more slimmer. That's just to help our guys and girls to be able to tuck in when they blouse their pants. We try to make them as low profile as possible while also having something to grab to tighten your laces with. You're gonna go ahead and grab one pair of our elastic bootlaces, and you're gonna start lacing them up. It's always a good idea to make sure that the ends are even. That way, once you get to the top, there's not one side that's uneven. This is the point where you're gonna be adding our tensioner onto the ends. Depending on how you're gonna wear these boots and tuck away the excess lace, one way is gonna leave the tensioner to sit on the front like this, and one's gonna leave it sitting up like this. If you want it up like this is where majority of the time people are gonna have it, because the way they're gonna be tucking their laces, they're gonna be tucking it on the inside. So if you're gonna have it up like that, you would want the face down. With the tensioner upside down, I'm gonna pull. So once I got it to the end, you'll see what I'm talking about. Since I'm gonna tuck them in, it's gonna bring it up and keep the button on the outside. Vice versa, if you want it to hang down and you wanna tuck it on the inside here, you're gonna have to flip it around. So from this point on, I'm gonna start fitting it and feel the tension of the boot. I'm gonna make sure it feels good on my foot. I'm gonna install our end clip once I'm satisfied with where everything is sitting. I'm gonna put these on, and I'm gonna get the tension to a point where I'm happy with how they feel and have a nice tight fitting boot. All right. When working with a higher boot like this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna tighten it down. You're gonna get to a point where you're satisfied with how it feels, make sure it's even, pull all the slack up, and get it to a point where you're happy with the tension of the boot. From here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna loosen it up just enough so you can slip off your boot. As you can see, it's really tight right now. I'm not gonna be able to slip this boot off if I try. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen this up until I'm allowed to pull off my boot. So with that being said, that's still gonna be a little bit too tight. I'm gonna keep loosening it up until I can slip it off. Now let's try that. All right. I'm happy with that tension, so let's verify that I can slip my foot back in. Just like that, I could slip in and out of this combat boot. So this is gonna be a perfect tension point to where I can cut my laces. This is gonna be the loosest it will ever be. So this is where you're gonna cut your slack and you're gonna install our end clip onto the end. It may be a good idea for you to leave a little bit more extra slack on the end because you can always take this off and cut back. You can't give back, but you can cut back. So that way you can work your way tighter. But do keep in mind, the looser you have it, the more slack you'll have on the end. It is gonna be about a 1/2 inch that I'll cut out, so you're just gonna make a mental note where to cut to replace this with it. Probably cut it right about right here, and then I'm gonna take my lighter and burn the ends of them. Feed both ends in equally until they meet the end of the clip. So I'll show you here once I got it in. You can see they're right to the end. Clamp it down and give her a good squeeze to make sure the clip is fully engaged. And that should leave you enough slack to be able to slip on your combat boot. Just like that. Tighten it down and tuck your excess away. One thing to note is not to pull really hard on this end. Pulling really hard on the end could result in it pulling off, which will mean you'll have to reopen it back up and reclamp it down. One thing that I do is I do use the end to get a little bit of slack out, and then I'll grab the lace itself and pull. That way I'm not having the possibility of it potentially pulling off on me. This is gonna conclude our elastic combat boot installation.